Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to English with Ashish, guys. And today we are going to learn four important types of sentences. Yes, these are simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences, and compound complex sentences. What? So many types of sentences. Yes, these are very important to give different flavors to your writing, to give variations to your writing. And that is something I'm going to help you master today. So make sure you watch the lesson till the end. If you're new to the channel, haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do it right now. All right, let's start the lesson now. So guys, before we understand these types of sentences, it's important we understand what is a clause in English, because that is something we'll be talking about in the entire lesson. All right. So we need to understand what is a clause and what is a dependent and an independent clause. So let us understand what is a clause in English. Guys, a clause is nothing but a group of words, more than one word, that has a subject and a verb in it. Basically, it has a subject verb combination. A clause is nothing but a group of words that has a subject verb combination in it. A subject and a verb, right? Now we have two types of clauses. These are independent clauses and dependent clauses. What is an independent clause? As the name goes, it is something that is independent. It is not dependent on anything, right? It's a complete sentence. An independent clause, remember guys, is a complete sentence, right? And a dependent clause, as the name goes, is a clause that is dependent on something. And what is that thing? What is that something? It is an independent clause. A dependent clause is a clause that starts with a subordinating conjunction, right? All the conjunctions that you see on your screen, it starts with these conjunctions and does not give a complete idea. All right? It depends on something, and what it depends on is an independent clause. Let me show you some examples and make you understand. Examples of independent clauses. We sleep. We sleep is a complete sentence, is an independent clause, a very small one. We is the subject, sleep is the verb. We sleep. We understand the meaning, right? I love you. I do. I love you guys. I is the subject, love is the verb, you is the object. That is an independent clause, is a complete sentence. Next example. Most people are slave to their minds, which is true. Most people are slave to their minds. Most people is the subject, are is the verb, slave is an adjective, to their minds is nothing but a modifying phrase. All right. So this is an independent clause, gives a complete meaning, gives a meaningful idea, right? And it does not depend on anything, and it is a complete sentence. Now let me show you some examples of dependent clauses. Because I love you. Because I love you. When I say that, you ask me questions, so what? There's something that you're not saying, Ashish, what is that? Something is missing, right? It does not give a complete idea. There is something that's not there. Because is a subordinating conjunction. As I told you, a dependent clause starts with a subordinating conjunction. Because is a subordinating conjunction. Why is it a clause? Because it has a subject, which is I. You can see that. It has a verb, which is you. So it is a clause. Now the reason it is a dependent clause, because it starts with a subordinating conjunction, which is because, and it does not give a complete meaning. It depends on something, right? Because I love you. So what? Next example. Since he was in debt, right? Since subordinating conjunction, he subject was verb. That is why it is a dependent clause. Depends on something. Unless Ron apologizes to me. Unless subordinating conjunction, Ron is the subject, apologizes is the verb, right? Unless Ron apologizes to me. So what's going to happen? Unless it happens, what is going to happen, right? There is something that we do not know. Something is missing. That's what a dependent clause does, right? So a dependent clause leaves us with the question, so what? What else, right? We don't know. It depends on an independent clause. So that's what a dependent clause is. That's what an independent clause is. Now let's talk about the first type of a sentence, which is a simple sentence. What is a simple sentence? Guys, a simple sentence talks about only one idea. It is an independent clause. Let me explain this. A simple sentence is nothing but an independent clause, and it only talks about one idea. right? Many people say a simple sentence is too short. That's how you identify a simple sentence. Let me tell you guys, a simple sentence has nothing to do with the length of the sentence, right? It basically talks about one idea. That's something you have to pay attention to. It can be short, it can be long. That's something we are not concerned about. We need to understand it only talks about one idea. Okay? Examples. I love teaching English. I subject, love is the verb, teaching English is the object. I love what? Teaching English. Right? Everyone eats food. Yes, everyone does. Everyone eats food. Everyone is the subject. Eats is the verb. Food is the object. Complete sentence, independent clause, simple sentence, right? Rahul works at a mall. Rahul works at a mall. Rahul is the subject, works is the verb, at a mall, prepositional phrase talking about where he works, right? So all these sentences are quite short, right? Which a lot of people say simple sentences are short, but they can be long too, right? As I told you, it has nothing to do with the length of the sentence. You need to understand it only talks about one idea. If you want to make a simple sentence long, you can do that. How can you do it? You can use a compound subject, right? That'll make your sentence long. You can use a compound predicate. That'll also make your sentence little longer. You can also use modifying phrases, adjective phrases and adverb phrases or participle phrases that will help you make your simple sentence longer, right? Let me show you examples. I love teaching English. All my school friends and I love teaching English. Became a little longer, right? It did, right? All my school friends and I is the compound subject, guys, and that's making the sentence little longer. If you still want to increase the length of the sentence, you can add more items in the subject. You can say my school friends, my college friends, and I love teaching English, right? So that's one way to increase the length of the sentence to make a simple sentence longer. Another way to do it is to use a compound predicate, right? For example, I love teaching English and earn money from it. I love teaching English, first predicate, and earn money from it. Both these predicates belong to the same subject, which is I. I love teaching English, I earn money from it, right? So I love teaching English and earn money from it is a simple sentence that has a compound predicate. Got it? So that was the second way to do it. Another way to increase the length of a sentence is to use modifiers. Let me show you how to do it. Most people eat junk food without thinking its impact on their health. Most people eat junk food without thinking its impact on their health. Without thinking its impact on their health is a modifying phrase talking about how they eat junk food without thinking its impact on their health. It still is a simple sentence, guys, but it's quite long, right? So as I told you, it has nothing to do with the length of the sentence. Let me show you one more example. Third example, Rahul works at a mall. Rahul works at a mall at night to support his family. Rahul works at a mall at night, talking about when he works, right? To support his family, talking about why he works at a mall. Rahul works at a mall when at night, why? To support his family. Guys, it is still a simple sentence, but it has a lot of information in it because we've used a couple of modifiers in it, right? So I was trying to explain you a simple sentence has nothing to do with the length. What you need to understand is it talks about only one idea. And in all these examples, we've only talked about one idea. As I just showed you, you can also use modifiers in a simple sentence. You can use phrases. You can use participle phrases as well, right? For example, demotivated by the exam results, he committed suicide. Demotivated by the exam results, that is a past participle phrase modifying the subject he. He committed suicide, demotivated by the exam results. This is still a simple sentence, right? One more example. Looking into her eyes, I started crying. Looking into her eyes, that is a present participle phrase starting with the present participle looking into her eyes, I started crying. I looking into her eyes, this phrase is modifying the subject, I started crying, right? So guys, this is what a simple sentence is. That's how we write it. That's how we can increase its length. right? We can use different types of phrases in a simple sentence to give more information. But remember, do not write too many simple sentences in your writing. That'll make your writing little choppy, right? So avoid that. Now let us move to the next type of a sentence, which is a compound sentence. Guys, a compound sentence is a combination of two or more independent clauses. At least two or more independent clauses. When we add two or more independent clauses using coordinating conjunctions, we have a compound sentence. Right? Now, what are coordinating conjunctions? These are 7 conjunctions in English: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. We also know them by this acronym fanboys. This is a very easy way to remember these conjunctions, fanboys. Okay, let me show you some examples of compound sentences now. Now look at these two examples, guys. These two examples of simple sentences. I shouted at my parents last night. I feel terrible now. These two are independent clauses, complete sentences. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add them together since there is a relation, right? We are going to use a coordinating conjunction and bring these two independent clauses together. I shouted at my parents last night and I feel terrible now. I shouted at my parents last night, complete sentence, and is the coordinating conjunction. I feel terrible now is also a complete sentence, is also an independent clause, right? And since there is a relation between these two sentences, we are using a coordinating conjunction to bring them together. Next example. Ronnie does not want to do engineering. Ronnie's parents are forcing him to do engineering. So these two are complete sentences. Now let's bring them together. Ronnie doesn't want to do engineering, but his parents are forcing him. Ronnie does not want to do engineering, but is a coordinating conjunction. His parents are forcing him, again, is a complete sentence. And the only reason we're adding these two sentences together because there is a relation between these two sentences. Next example. Ria needed some money, she called me. Ria needed some money, she called me. Okay, let's make a compound sentence. Ria needed some money, so she called me. Ria needed some money, comma, so she called me. Okay, guys, by now you must have observed that before the coordinating conjunction, we are using a comma. When we add two independent clauses or more than two independent clauses, before the coordinating conjunction, we have to use a comma. That's something you have to do. All right, we have been doing it. Look at the examples. Okay, let me show you one more example. People meditate. Meditation helps to live a peaceful life. These are two separate sentences, simple sentences. Let's make a compound sentence. People meditate for it helps to live a peaceful life. People meditate for is a coordinating conjunctions, talks about the reason it helps to live a peaceful life, right? These two sentences are related to each other, and that is exactly why we're adding them together, making a compound sentence. So to form a compound sentence, you need at least two independent clauses, two simple sentences, you can say. You can use more than two sentences, right? If you want to, you can do that. Let me show you an example. We are hiring people in bulk, for most of our employees left the job in the previous quarter and all the posts are still vacant. We are hiring people in bulk. That's a complete sentence, gives a complete idea. First independent clause. For is a coordinating conjunction. Most of our employees left the job in the previous quarter. That is also a complete sentence, gives a complete idea, right? That is the second independent clause, right? And the first and second independent clauses are joined with the conjunction for. Third, and all the posts are still vacant. And is a coordinating conjunction. All the posts are still vacant is also a complete sentence, gives a complete meaning, right? So we have used three independent clauses, three simple sentences to form a compound sentence. You can do that, right? But guys, make sure you don't use more than three independent clauses, right? Three is okay, two is very common, more than three is very odd. So keep it two or three, okay? So that's what a compound sentence is. Hope you got it. Now let us move to the next one, a complex sentence. Guys, a complex sentence is a combination of one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. One independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. Alright, we'll understand this through some examples. Example number one. If you don't come to my party today, I will never talk to you again. If you don't come to my party today. If is a subordinating conjunction, right? I told you in the beginning of the lesson, a dependent clause starts with a subordinating conjunction, and if is a subordinating conjunction. So we simply understand it's a dependent clause. If you don't come to my party today, comma, I will never talk to you again. I will never talk to you again is an independent clause, is a sentence, right? So we've got one dependent clause and one independent clause, right? Next example. He did not go to his office because he was feeling blue. He did not go to his office because he was feeling blue. To feel blue means to feel unwell, to feel sick. Blue is a color of misery, right? So he did not go to his office. That's a complete sentence, right? Because he was feeling blue is a dependent clause, depends on something, right? Starting with a subordinating conjunction because he was feeling blue. All right, next example. She will not marry John even though he has a lot of money. Even though he has a lot of money, she will not marry John. She will not marry John is a complete sentence, independent clause. Even though he has a lot of money, dependent clause starting with the subordinating conjunction, even though, right? So guys, let me tell you one important thing here. In a complex sentence, when your sentence starts with a dependent clause, right, and then we have an independent clause, we use a comma after the dependent clause. Dependent clause, comma, independent clause. Look at the first example. If you don't come to my party today, comma, dependent clause, comma, independent clause. I will never talk to you again, right? But when your sentence starts with an independent clause and then you have a dependent clause, you don't need a comma. Look at the second and third example. He did not go to his office because he was feeling blue. He did not go to his office, independent clause, because he was feeling blue, dependent. She will not marry John even though he has a lot of money. First independent, then dependent. So these were some examples using one independent clause and one dependent clause. Let me show you a couple of examples where we have used one independent clause and two dependent clauses. Example number one. When I was in school, I used to give flowers to a teacher that I liked a lot. When I was in school. It's a dependent clause. How do we identify it? Because it's starting with a subordinating conjunction, which is when. When I was in school, I used to give flowers to a teacher. This is a complete sentence, gives a complete idea. I used to give flowers to a teacher, right? That I liked a lot. It's a dependent clause starting with a relative pronoun that, right? So we have used two dependent clauses here. When I was in school, that I liked a lot. Both these clauses have a subject and a verb. When I was in school, I was. That I liked a lot, I is the subject, liked is the verb. So you can make complex sentences using relative clauses as well. For example, I don't admire people who give up without trying. Yes, I don't. I do not admire people who give up without trying. I don't admire people. That is a complete sentence, right? Who give up without trying is a dependent clause. Who give up without trying? Who is the subject here? Who is the relative pronoun? Give up is the verb, right? And this entire clause, who give up without trying, is modifying the noun people. I don't admire people. What type of people? Who give up without trying. So this is also a complex sentence where we have a relative clause, a dependent clause, right? I don't admire people who give up without trying. We are looking for a place where we can set up our office. We are looking for a place. That's a complete sentence, right? We understand what it means. We are looking for a place where we can set up our office. It's a dependent clause, right? Without the first clause, we are looking for a place, it does not give any meaning. We are looking for a place where we can set up our office is a relative clause, a dependent clause, right? Modifying the noun place. We are looking for a place where we can set up our office. Got it? So that's how we use a complex sentence. That's how we form it. Hope you understood it. Now, to check whether you've really understood these types of sentences, I've given you a test. On your screen are some sentences, right? You have to select simple, compound, and complex sentences and write in the comment section below. All right, I hope you've done it. I'll reveal the answers of these questions at the end of the video. Now let us move to the next type of a sentence, which is a compound complex sentence. Now, what is this compound complex sentence? We have understood what is a compound sentence. We've understood what is a complex sentence. Then what is this compound complex sentence? Guys, don't be scared. It's something we already know. It's a combination of these two types of sentences. It has elements of these two sentences, right? A compound complex sentence is a combination of at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. How do we found a compound sentence? To add at least two independent clauses that we have. And how do we form a complex sentence? By adding at least one independent clause and one dependent clause. So we have two independent clauses here and one dependent clause. So it makes a complex sentence, right? You'll understand this through some examples. He apologized to us because he knows we are in power and he could lose his job because of us. He apologized to us. That's a complete sentence, right? Independent clause number one. Because he knows we are in power. That's a dependent clause. How do we know this? Because it's starting with a subordinating conjunction, which is because. Simple. We've mastered it now, right? So by now we have one independent clause, one dependent clause. After which, and he could lose his job because of us. And is a coordinating conjunction that adds independent clauses. So the next one has to be an independent clause. And he could lose his job because of us. That's an independent clause, right? So we've got two independent clauses. He apologized to us. He could lose his job because of us. And we've got one dependent clause, which is because he knows we are in power, right? And guys, look at this sentence. It has a lot of information in it, right? It has a lot of interconnected ideas, right? And that's why we use these types of sentences, right? Let me show you the next example. We are trying to hook him up with a girl since he has been feeling alone lately. But I'm not sure if that is going to work. We are trying to hook him up with a girl. That is an independent clause, right? Gives a complete meaning. Clear idea. Since he has been feeling alone lately. Dependent clause starting with a subordinating conjunction, since, right? But I am not sure if that is going to work. But coordinating conjunction adds independent clauses. So I am not sure that's going to work is an independent clause. And that's why we've used a comma before the coordinating conjunction. Okay, I'm not sure if that is going to work. So if you look at this sentence, I'm not sure if that is going to work. If that is going to work is again a dependent clause in this independent clause, right? So I am not sure if that is going to work is also a complex sentence, right? I'm not sure if that is going to work. That is the subject, is going is the verb phrase here, right? So we've got two independent clauses and one dependent clause. And in the last independent clause, we also have a dependent clause. So how do we form a compound complex sentence? By using at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. If you want to use more, you can do that. Let me show you an example. I was crazy about watches when I was in college, but they don't interest me anymore. Here we have two independent clauses and one dependent clause. I was crazy about watches, independent clause. When I was in college, dependent clause, but they don't interest me anymore, independent clause starting with a coordinating conjunction but. Now I can add one more dependent clause here. Let me show you how. I was crazy about watches when I was in college, but they do not interest me anymore as I am a different person now. So after the last clause, right, we've added a dependent clause as I'm a different person now. Okay, as is a subordinating conjunction. So now we have two independent clause. I was crazy about watches. They don't interest me anymore. And we've got two dependent clauses when I was in college as I'm a different person now. So guys, hope you've understood all these different types of sentences. It's very important to know these types of sentences to be able to use these types of sentences in your writing. So make sure you practice enough, right? If you have any questions, any doubts, do let me know in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to help you guys. And I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button. If you guys are new to the channel and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, that's bad. Do that right now, right? Be a part of the channel. Share the videos with the people that can be benefited out of this video. And I'll see you guys very soon. Till then, keep learning. Have fun. I'm out. I love you all.